poverty affects all of us in some way or the other, right? We do come across an article or a news discussion in our daily lives. But how much, as the youth of the country, do we really think about it? So, with a common vision to spark conversation and dialogue on this topic, UNDP and Josh Talks have come together for this initiative.
Thank you everybody for coming. I'm Francine, I'm the country director of UNDP in India. We wanted to have this discussion with you today because on the 17th of October it's the International Day for Eradicating Poverty, and India's done a lot of amazing work on eradicating poverty. In the last 20 years, hundreds of millions of people in India have been lifted out of poverty. And if India is able to address poverty and alleviate poverty, it's going to have a big impact on whether the world is able to achieve goal 1 of the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, which is around eliminating poverty. So I'm here with you today because we want to start that dialogue with young people. Young people are critical in India, as you know. 2/3 of the population here is under the age of 35. I think it's the youngest workforce around the world. So you are actually the solution on alleviating poverty. And in UNDP, our whole mandate is around alleviating poverty. So we really wanted to start the discussion with you to understand better how you see poverty and what you think the solutions are.
People who fall below the poverty line, who are not even able to accomplish or fulfill the basic needs such as shelter or food or water, so they can't even get to the things where they talk about education or a better way of living.
Apart from the economic constraints that we talk about, looking into the social constraints when we look into poverty is more important. When we look at sanitation, health, standard of living, hygiene, education, all of these factors become all the more contributing to a country that sustains itself under poverty than the economic factors.
Slowly and slowly, the battle will get more fiercer, more variants will come into that definition, more parameters will be added into the definition. So now it's not only about the roti, kapda and makan, which I'll say food, shelter, clothing, but it also comes about visibility, as few folks there talked about caste and gender. Yes, exactly, there's a marginalization in that area. What I would suggest is, or what I would like to say is that given the infrastructure, given the accessibility of resources which we have, if we are unable to provide them to the people who are pushed to the margins, that is where the problem gets more aggressive, and which is the current state. That is where the problem comes. So I say the proper articulation of the definition is where we need to first focus on, and then we can eradicate.
A country that, obviously a huge country that has a lot of hardship and poverty and deprivation, but also a country that is growing so fast. I think the growth is good, but we have to look at the quality of that growth. Is it inclusive? Is it including, is it creating jobs? Is it environmentally sustainable? These are the kinds of questions that I think are facing India today.
Eradication of poverty is the goal by 2030. So how far do you think we have come, keeping the goal in mind? How far do you think we have to go, and is it possible to achieve eradication of poverty, because it is a very brave goal? So what would be your summary about this entire thing?
So I think in India you've come a really long way. So poverty is basically halved in a very short amount of time, and if you take the multidimensional poverty index, which is it uses a composite index that looks at many different definitions, from shelter, health, education, living standards. In the last 10 years, it's almost halved, and it's now about 364 million. Obviously, the more you get out of poverty, the ones who are still in poverty are the hardest to get out of poverty. So I think the task is going to get harder the further along the road that you get. I think there's lots of reason for optimism, but there are still these sticky parts that need a lot of work. One of the things that I see here is that there's a discrepancy between education and skills. So you can come out of your school, but you don't necessarily have the skills that you need to get a job.
Two things here. First, the syllabus needs to be more standardized than what it is right now. Second of all, the syllabus or whatever we learn needs to be more practical than theoretical, because right from where we have begun schooling, all we know is open up a book, mug it up, and the exact same question comes in your, so there's absolutely no application. So this is I think the main problem why we do not have the necessary skills that are needed in whatever the sector that we might want to get into. So these are the two problems that if tackled well, I think we'll solve most of the issues.
Our sort of philosophy is, and the philosophy of the SDGs is to leave no one behind, or to reach the furthest behind first. But by giving them that little bit of a boost, they can really go up a level. So that really sort of epitomizes, I think, our approach to leaving no one behind.
We're definitely initiating a dialogue. I don't know about you, but talking about myself, I would definitely talk to my friends about what I experienced here. My friends would talk to other people they know about what I told them about. We can take big steps, but even talking and coming here and taking the initiative to talk about it and creating a dialogue about it is also a step towards it.
Having conversations around it is definitely the first step, but there can be various ideas. There is so much that we can do in an individual capacity. It's just that how we take it from here. We've had this conversation today, but what do we go home and do? Apart from obviously coming up with long-term solutions, what do you think in our day-to-day lives can, the youth of the country or people in general can do?
I mean, I think like you say, the talking about it is good. I think raising difficult questions, making ourselves feel uncomfortable, and, reaching out on social media is important. And I think you as a group, I mean, if you're going to go home and talk about it with your family or your friends, this discussion we had tonight, that's already good, right? Because you can start to think, okay, even if it's not part of your job and you're not an entrepreneur, I mean, you can still do so much stuff to get engaged. And I don't know what the solutions are that you're going to come up with, but I'm pretty sure if you put your minds to it, you will come up with some interesting solutions on how to help, because I mean it's a huge country and you have so much capacity and resources, so I'm sure you can do it, but you just need to talk and organize, and keep it simple. As I get older, I simplify, just it's such an overwhelming issue, but choose the part of it that you're interested in, right? That's most important to you, that you feel most passionately about, and really work with others. I mean, the other thing I've learned is don't just work with other people like you. Find those people who are different from you, who can also be part of the solution. I'm very excited about what I'm seeing in countries like Indonesia or like India much more so, where young people are saying, okay, I want to earn money, I need to earn money, I also want to have an impact. Find your bit of the problem that you want to work on and do something, and then I think you feel like you're having an impact, and that's really important. Thank you so much. I've learned a lot from you, and it's very humbling for me actually to be talking to all of you. You've clearly thought about it, and you have a lot of the issues. I can hear them in your questions and your comments, and we did this today just because we wanted to start the conversation, and I mean, we got much further in the conversation than I was really expecting. There's a lot of insights from you guys, and so we want to continue the conversation. So please, we'll be talking about this issue over the next couple of weeks. We're having a campaign over the next couple of weeks around the International Day to end poverty. So we want to keep reaching out to you, and we want you to send in your questions and your thoughts, and hopefully as a result of this we can come up with some concrete solutions and ways forward. So thanks very much.